Can I first of all say how perplexing and wrong it is that this game, a top four matchup, by the way, is not going to be hosting College Game Day. Instead, the annual shootout between horns down and the team who hasn't won a playoff game is getting all the center of attention here, which is wrong, and many fans and others think it's wrong too. This game should be hosting College Game Day. Texas and Oklahoma are two teams that they're not going to win anything this year. I just don't think they are from how they're playing, what they're doing. These two teams, specifically, I'd say more so Iowa, could win something. Honestly, could win something. Both Penn State and Iowa right now look better than Texas, and I'd say at least Iowa looks better than Oklahoma, and Penn State, I think, does too. But I'm going to preview this game and talk about it, and in the end, reveal my prediction. It's just that simple. According to ESPN's FPI, Iowa is favored to win 59.2% to 48.8%. Iowa's also favored with a 2-point spread. And Iowa, despite, being a more defensive team, actually averages more points per game with 33.2 and allows less per game with 11.6. Also is the home team. The one support, of course, for Penn State to win this game is the history between these matchups. James Franklin has never lost a game in Kinnick Stadium. He's traveled to Kinnick Stadium twice, one against a ranked Iowa team, another against a similar Iowa team that destroyed Ohio State in 2017, and he beat them both. Another support for this is Penn State has Sean Clifford's playing great. Penn State has an amazing pass attack, and that Penn State's just all around more talented. Penn State is led by, again, Sean Clifford through the air, and he has 1,336 passing yards and completes 67.3% of his throws. He averages 8.7 yards per throw, 11 touchdowns, only threw 3 interceptions. He has been sacked 7 times, though. The offensive line, along with the run game, being actually a surprising somewhat weakness with Penn State. Noah Cain leads on the ground, 187 rushing yards, but only 3.2 yards per carry and 3 touchdowns. Kavion Lee has 174 yards, but averages 6.2 yards per carry. He saw a lot of action in that Indiana game. He has no touchdowns, and Sean Clifford, 137 rushing yards, 3.3 per carry, 1 touchdown. Sean Clifford has always had that scrambling game, a part of him that allows Penn State to move when it is put in tough situations. Jahan Dotson and Parker Washington are the key receivers of this offense. Dotson with 446 receiving yards, Parker Washington with 331. Dotson has 6 touchdowns, Washington has 2. Keandre Lambert-Smith has the third most receptions on this team and 224 yards and 1 touchdown. Penn State's deep passing game is, it is dangerous. I'm going to call it what it is. It's dangerous. And, we saw it against Wisconsin. We saw it against Villanova, who's granted an FCS school. And, you even just saw how good their wide receivers are in the Indiana game with how Clifford threw some balls and stuff. Penn State just has this phenomenal passing game. But with the ground, their one weakness is they only rush for 3.8 yards a carry. And they face 2 competent rush defenses. 2 of them. I wouldn't say Indiana has the greatest defense at all, and that's especially, somewhat of the case when your defenders are constantly getting injured like Indiana's were. Villanova is an FCS school, and they shut down Penn State's run game, among other things. Penn State has an interesting case with its run game. Like in Indiana, run game was good. Toward the end of the Wisconsin game, they found the run game too. And everything outside of that, you don't really have a run. You have a great pass game. The run game is, as always, a concern. But to make up for that, the defense is amazing. Brandon Smith leads in tackles. Jair Brown, the safety, leads in interceptions. You also, as always, have Jaquan Brisker with 16 total tackles, 2 passes defended, and a pick that was returned for 41 yards. Tariq Castro Fields as well with 4 passes defended. Jair Brown also has 14 total tackles. Arnold Ebiketie, the defensive end, is a transfer. 1 sack, 21 total tackles. I think he might have also blocked a kick or 2. So just crazy defense. I mean, Penn State has a great rushing defense, not the best rushing offense. And not only that, they have an amazing secondary, which I thought this year, I thought the defense might have been a little bit of a concern, but here they are. They're doing amazing, phenomenal on the defensive side of the ball. Penn State also, on average, gains 418.6 yards a game, 132 rushing, 286 passing. They also allow 314 yards a game, 202 passing, 111.6 rushing. Iowa, on the other hand, they gain about as many yards as Penn State allows. 194 passing, 126 rushing, and they only allow 271 yards, 184 of them passing, but only 87 rush yards allowed. So just from those stats, before I get to Iowa, I will say, before I get to my prediction, I am completely confident that Penn State will outgain Iowa. 100% confident in that. Penn State will outgain Iowa in total yards. That's easier said than done. I don't know if they'll outgain them in the rushing game, but Penn State will certainly have one or 2 big passing plays likely, and will certainly in total yards outgain Iowa. Now, Iowa is a very interesting team. For the first time, they're ranked number 3 for the first time since 2015. And they're the first team in a while that is defensively dominant. Like, they have an elite defense, but they don't really have a great or elite offense to complement that in a certain sense. Spencer Petras only has passed for 943 yards, completed 62% of his passes, 7 touchdowns, 1 pick. He's been sacked 11 times. 135.3 QB rating. Clifford's was, I think, 160. So I think that right there, along with other talent, should tell you right there, Penn State has, in a certain sense, the better offense. Rushing, you have Tyler Goodson, who has 430 yards, not carries, is 99 carries, 4.3 yards per carry, 5 touchdowns. Ivory Kelly Martin, backup running back, 153 yards, 4.8 yards per carry, no touchdowns. Looking at their rush game, I actually do expect Iowa here to have the better run game. And they, on average, the entire team rushes for both about 3.5 yards a carry, which is not necessarily good. But Tyler Goodson is a great running back. He is second with Iowa in receiving yards as well. He has 1 receiving touchdown, 146 receiving yards. And per reception, he gains about 12.2 yards as well. Rushes for 4.3, and that's just plain and simple. Iowa, they're going to have a good ground game here. It'll be interesting to see how Goodson and Kelly Martin go against the Penn State defensive line and linebackers and Brent Pry's, stiff defense. That's exactly what it is. Both of these teams, I'd actually say both of these teams' strength, or at least their consistency in regards to Penn State, is their defense. I mean, they only allow 12 points a game or less. In my opinion, that's pretty impressive. But both, honestly, Iowa shouldn't. That 33 points a game is majorly puffed up by Maryland turning the ball over 6 times. Both of these teams really, it's hard for these teams to score more than 35 points just on average. Some against just basic or average opponents. So this game's going to be a defensive battle, and Iowa's defense proves that as well. Also, their reception game proves that. Once again, Iowa with a tight end in Sam Laporta having 263 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns. A tight end leading in receiving yards and touchdowns. On defense, Jack Campbell with 46 total tackles. Holy crap. 1 sack, 3 pass defended, 1 forced fumbled, 2 fumble recoveries, and a touchdown. This is the thing about Iowa's defense that I am going to warn Penn State fans about. They have 12 interceptions, 23 passes defended, 13 sacks, 3 forced fumbles. Penn State, 7 picks, only 1 forced fumble, just another fumble recovery, and 21 passes defended, 8 sacks. Iowa's defense is insane. They're insane. And the reason they even score more than 28 points a game is defensive touchdowns and turnovers. They're a turnover machine. Sean Clifford is going to have to, in my opinion, have a game similar to the Villanova game with, deep passes on the ball. He's going to have to play a near perfect game because we all know he's not as turnover prone as last season by any means. He's improved, but he still turns over the ball. And if you turn over the ball against Villanova, against other teams, he's going to have to, let me put it in a better way, he's going to have to play like he did against Wisconsin, where he didn't turn the ball over. Because Wisconsin's defense, despite not forcing as many turnovers or whatnot, and not being as good at defending the pass as Iowa, is still one of the better defenses by far in the country. It's the best running defense in existence in the Big Ten. Their front 7 with Jack Sanborn and Leo Chanel is absolutely amazing. But you look at this game, Riley Moss with 3 passes defended, 3 picks, 2 pick sixes. Jack Corner, 1 pick, 2 passes defended. Seth Benson, a linebacker, with a pick. Dane Belton and Matt Hankins with each 2 picks. It's crazy. This team, this secondary is turnover machine. Clifford throws a pass an inch off, interception. Throws a pass, a millimeter off, swatted away, incomplete. This is going to be a battle. Again, Iowa's rush game versus Penn State's D-line. Sean Clifford, Mike Yurcich, Jahan Dotson's passing game versus one of the best defensive coordinators in Phil Parker and Riley Moss and Jack Campbell's defense. That's just going to make this game. And I think it's going to be an amazing game. And I've explained enough, and I'm going to finally give my prediction. My prediction here, it's at 4 p.m. in Kinnick Stadium. There's going to be a lot of hype. It's going to be packed, and it will be close. The likelihood of either team blowing each other out is minimal to none. This game has always been competitive. Last year, Iowa blew Penn State out of the water, but that was in an empty Beaver Stadium, and Penn State was a mental mess last year. I think Iowa wins this game by a touchdown. And the score being probably like 17-10, 20-13, 24-17, something along those lines. It's going to be a very low scoring game. The over-under is 40 points. I mean, I'm not confident really about betting or whatever, but I'd almost say pick the under. I cannot see these teams in a certain sense. It's harder for me to see this team going over 40 points than only scoring a combined 30, if you get what I mean. This looks to be an amazing defensive battle. I think Iowa's going to win this game by a touchdown, but it will be close. It'll be competitive, and both of these teams right now do both look like, at minimum, I would say top 8 teams, just to be honest with you. Thank you all for watching. If you like this video and preview, prediction, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and comment your thoughts down below. Again, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, join this awesome community. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you around.